Hey, and welcome guys to another little tutorial on our tower defense stuff. Now, today's tutorial will be more of a refactor of what we used to have, and I'll explain why. When we instantiate a prefab, okay, we will be just instantiate a tower right on the ground, right? Pretty much that's how it works. Let's see, resources, okay, tower, okay. We'll instantiate one, we have these components, but we want the values and stuff like that to be pretty persistent, right? And the problem with it is when we go to like T1, T2, or T3, the other stages of it and everything, or maybe later on we want to add functionality to it, we really there's not much we can do about this because it doesn't save this. Once this is just destroyed, we lose all that data, which kind of sucks. So what I've devised is kind of decoupled a lot of the code that is here, because not all this stuff right here actually needs to be here. Fire effects, yeah, sure. These tech level things, no, they don't really need to be here. Health, max health, stuff like that. Some of it does, but we need to decouple this because there's just too much stuff here. Like this, what it's going to instantiate, this is one of the things I'm talking about we need to get rid of. This is just a tower name, okay? But we have another asset that's the cost. We shouldn't have this kind of information here, okay? And the second thing, every single time I hit this to do an upgrade, it's got to load up that information out of a get component call, which, is okay, I guess, but maybe there's a better way. In our project, we've got to the point where we need really another refactor, okay? We really do. We need another refactor because of this kind of stuff right here shouldn't be in this class right here. I'm okay with this class existing and stuff like that, but it shouldn't be part of the tower script itself. I don't believe it should. It just, I've always had a problem with it anyway because of, I didn't think it was something that needed to be there. I'm okay with the turn hard points. Target object, bullet, this name thing, no, I don't believe it needs, well, maybe, yeah, we probably could put a name for a key reference or whatnot. That might be okay. This range thing, yeah, this technology stuff, how we upgrades for this and things, we really don't need this to be here, okay? We don't need it to be part of this tower. So what I've devised is a different game manager. Okay, this is a game manager. I got game behavior, but if you know anything about how we usually do things, is we do it in a stepping stone. First, we get the turns to shoot at stuff. Then we got enemies into the game, and then we get upgrades, and so on and so forth. So all these little tiny scripts, they all do one specific thing, which is good. But I believe we need to start combining a lot of them and really target more of the functionality in our system for everything. And the good thing about this is, since we're going to do a game manager here, we can take the saving and make it part of everything. Hook it in to the system where it'll be a lot more easier to serialize things. And what am I talking about this? Okay, so we have the game behavior, okay? This is a regular class and everything. Well, let's go and look at some code. Alright, game behavior does a lot of things. It does panel stuff, we got this persistent thing, we got targets, which is a list, then we got cues for audio, We've got these wake up calls. Then we got this update, okay, which is doing power, state behavior.update, power.update. You see my point? It's just getting to the point where we need to get a more readable and a more refined build out, because this is getting a little crazy. And two, if you're looking at this, here's the update. Power, then we do some audio stuff, and then state behaviors, which is panels, then we do power again, then we got this messaging, and then we got this to pause the game, and it's just, it's getting out of control. Okay, it's not, there's nothing wrong with it. We put it in there, and now we've got to, organize it a little better. So what I've done is I've went ahead and made a game manager script. Okay, we got a static instance, that's fine. Then we got the state panel object, which is the same thing. Then we got a message stuff. Now look at this. Since this is a message thing and everything, look, what we had before was constant so that I can access it for other stuff. We don't need that anymore. Okay? Now we have a list here, which is units, and game object, unit reference. Okay, this will be more important later on. But now we have this nice little block here. Then we have a delegate, which is a tick updater dot-updater. This is for ticking every single frame. Very, very nice. Now you're probably thinking, why am I doing this? Okay. This is, we can call this an update, which I do down here. We go updater does not equal null. We go updater dot invoke. So it will call up and go, hey, let's do this one time every single frame. Why am I doing it this way? Well, the reason why is because in our next refined build for our towers, we're not going to have an update for the towers at all. This will be called from another script. Okay, and what I mean by this unit object is going to be our new tower script. We're going to extend and that kind of stuff. But you see how it says on update, called every frame, and then on fixed update. Okay, well, if you know anything about our system, update happens every single frame, and every single tower will have its own update. Okay, but you're like, well, why don't you just do the same thing here? Well, the reason being is in our game manager, when I do this update right here with the delegate, if I wanted, let's say, if pause equals true, in-game pause equals true. It's not really a function or anything like that. Then we return. Okay. So the game's paused. So it'll just keep returning instead of this. And because all the units are based on the delegate right here, this will no longer get called. So in turn, every single unit will stop firing and just completely pause. And you're like, well, the time.0 will do that. Not all the time, okay? The problem with zeroing the time out is some stuff runs, other things do not. So if we have the update and it's because on this right here, this has the potential to still run. Okay, and I don't want it to. I don't want it to do anything. Okay, which this will ensure that functionality if we do something like that. Alright, It's really actually quite easy to do it. It's just a tick manager. That's all it basically does. It'll tick every single frame. And if we wanted to slow that down, like let's say we don't want all of our towers to update every single frame, it would be very easily to manipulate this to every 2 frames or 3 frames or 4 frames or whatever you want, you know? Because in our fixed update, what we're going to have down here fixed update, we're going to have this loop right down here, okay, which is a fixed frame rate. You guys already know about this, and we get enemy. But look, I'm going through every unit there is and just loop everything. Doesn't matter, we'll just loop it. So every single time I do that, if you know how our system works, our tower will do a spear cast. Now you're probably thinking, why don't you just put a fixed update on the tower and just have it do it by itself? Well, because then I go from 30 towers doing a spear cast every single frame to 1 spear cast being done every single frame. And if you know anything about mobile or actually how the engine works, physics is expensive. Okay, if you can get away with fudging the physics where it's slower, then you really should, because you'll get a lot of performance out of it. And like I said, some of this shouldn't be in this class anyway. I mean, I can see the layers, I can see the colliders, the range thing, not well, yes, I do. The fire effects, yes. But this object.name and other, no. Some of this needs to go away. And in turn, when we do this, we can extend out our unit object class and have different towers. So we won't have to really care about it too much. Because a lot of this is all because of it. Now, the really important thing is these tech levels. We'll be able to do a scriptable object and get this out of this class right here. So when we go to, we can have a function in here, okay? Function that does public void setup health, right? And it takes some kind of object, right? Object go, and then that object that we pass in for the upgradation can do everything it needs to do to the actual object class. Like if it needs better firing rate, it needs anything like that, that's what it'll do, okay? But the unit class will be in charge of all of it. Now, this unit class, see unit object. So when we spawn something in the world, we'll do some custom this is an example. This isn't really a great example, but we'll have code that adds it to our list in our dictionary, and it will parse a new unit right here. But if you noticed, my new unit also requires a file, which I call string.file. And we'll have a class that'll go out there and it'll pull up values and go, hey, this is what we need. Please give me everything you have on this file. Which is great. I mean, honestly, that would be a really great way of doing it, because then we don't have to store information. We can just pull it out of a file, close the file, and be done with it. Or come up with a class Okay, well, a little class that's static, that what its job is to do is, if we've got this file in the dictionary, then it doesn't load up from a file. It just keeps caching it in the background just for caching purposes. But yeah, it'd be really awesomely nice. Now I hope you guys are starting to see why I'm doing this. My unit, dude, and this is coming from the delegate. Okay, get enemy, my unit. But yeah, this is what we're going to start be doing. We're going to get the game object, unit.get unit. Then we remove unit from the list. We remove it from a dictionary and we destroy it. When we create a new one, see this updater dot plus equals u dot update. This is calling up, going, hey, subscribe to this delegate that's running every single frame for us. And you're probably thinking, well, instead of doing this delegate, we could do this for loop. Okay, and I equals blah blah blah, and we can do all units dot count, right? All units dot not contains dot count. Okay, and then we would go all units I dot update. Perfectly legit, perfectly like that. But the problem is, then we also have to have another check up here if this is not null. Okay, and two, another problem is sometimes this can be destroyed before this update can happen and do stuff. Okay, so you can have null references here. When you do the delegate, when it's subscribed, if the thing that's listening to the delegate and see if it gets pulled in, if it's destroyed, like let's say okay, unit right here gets destroyed, guess what? The delegate doesn't care. It automatically takes care of all those null references for us. So we don't have to do a bunch of checks like this. The delegate does all that stuff for us. It handles everything in one little check. As long as the updater is not null, it will update everything that's listening to it. I hope that makes sense, because we don't have to manage this crap or this other stuff. Only when we need to, when we're instantiating or destroying or probably hurting a unit, will this become relevant. When it comes to the delegate, oh yeah, it's on. It's good stuff there. Now I did this for on enable because of how start and enable works. If you have start and you try to subscribe or something funky, well, enable just works first, and then start. It's enabled, I believe, and then awake, and then start. When it comes to Unity's like firing orders, then update will finally run after all those three phases go through. And if anything else is trying to run to get the instance, it will most likely be fine as long as it's in a start method. When you're trying to find something from the instance, you'll be fine. But if you try to fill in the instance and start, or anything like that, it will probably come up null if you don't have it on enable. But little tip, this happens every time the game object is enabled. for, I believe, the components. I forget which one, or is it both? But yeah, that's how we're going to start doing these units and everything. Now, if you don't know, you have to have this in order to write this, because we're overriding and telling it how to make a class. That's why. That's why this is very, very important. This is going to be very, very good for us. You'll see. You'll see. But I just thought, and like I said, look at all this. Frame power, frame this, updates, this, message, time, yeah. It's starting to get really messy. And see, another great thing about this is we don't need these type of functions anymore, or these type of functions. We'll still have this, we'll still have this. But you see how these are statically available like this? We are going to be able to instantiate our buttons from Game Manager, and we will not have to do this right here. We'll be able to push in references. See, a lot of this is what I was talking about. This building mode, this is a reference to another class. If we didn't have another reference to the class and we just had it inside the class, then it would be a lot easier to work with, because we can just write code into it. And the cleanup stuff and everything, here's what we can do. We can do this. See how messaging is here? I got this nice clean line. Same code, but it's a lot easier to work with. Now, you see how I did the messenger plus equals messaging? So messaging right here is running every single frame with the delegate, and it doesn't care what the thing is, as long as it doesn't have any parameters. In here, we've got this massive uneligible update that's doing all this. It's insane on how much this stuff is working. You know, it's like this, and then here's the code for messaging. See, completely unreadable, very, very not cool. So yeah, we're just going to have to deal with that. And you know, like I said, you just needed some refactoring, and the project will start to evolve and be a lot better soon. We just had to develop all the other systems in such a way that, you know, it's not going to break our stuff, because now we've got where we want to go. You know, that's the whole point. We know where we wanted to go, so now we're going to refine into something a lot more readable instead of tacking on code, because I call it like spaghetti code or whatnot. But I hope this enlightens you guys to a managing class, and you guys get more of an idea on how to work with classes in this fashion. Now, before I go, I'm going to make this class right here, this serializable field, this list publicly, but not like where we can see it in the inspector. Okay, and now we're going to go into the editor. So now we've got this game manager. Okay, and I believe does unit have to be a serializable class? Probably. And system.serializable, or I just gotta wait till the compiler does it, or maybe I just didn't save. It's probably because I didn't save. Come on, compiler, come on, let's go, daddy-o. Okay, now we got all units. Okay, so this is a C# class. So each element right here will have different values and stuff in it, which will be awesome. Serializable field. And we'll be able to do components on each element. See, I got element 0, element 1, element 2. And this will handle most of our information for our subsystems, like saving, things like that, because we don't really care about the unit part, because all it needs to do is fire off particles, which I don't care about the reference to that. It needs to find a target when the fixed update runs. That's fine. But it was always the upgradation part that's the problem. So we can always go into this list and go, hey, let's destroy this component with the game object that this component's attached to, and then the next frame where it does either an update or whatnot, we can have it instantiate with a name a different thing. And unit can also, I will make this public to public vector3 position. Okay, so unit will have a position variable as well. And the reason why I'm going to have it have a position variable is because when this gets destroyed or maybe instantiated, whenever we decide to do something like that, or maybe every fixed frame where it runs our thing, we'll have it update its positional data right here. So when this gets destroyed, it will instantiate it in this position right here. But when we go to save, it already has the position. It already has a name of what it is. It already has a lot of the stuff that we're going to need right here, and it's a C# class. So it can serialize that stuff. Where before we had our tower right here, this can't be serialized. We have to come up with some crazy C# class that will serialize and be fine, okay? Which isn't ideal for us. You know, it's not cool, right? Because it just makes it more complicated. And if you know me, I don't like complicated. I like simple, clean, elegant. So we'll get rid of this. We'll probably get rid of the health variable and put a component here instead of that. So no more health stuff. Okay. Or maybe we'll have the unit keep track of the health as well. We can, because all we have to do is with our bullet, have it look into dictionary and go, hey, do damage to this. Okay. Which works for me. It works. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It does. The bullet thing, the thing every time it fires, that's cool. The layers, that's fine. It's this crap that we can't serialize. Okay? The power is going to be a tricky one. The power is definitely going to be a tricky one. That I might have to use a delegate or some type of event or whatnot. Some type of callback. I don't know exactly what yet, but it could happen. It's not impossible. It's just unlikely. Maybe we'll have a little box, like a power plant has to be X amount of distance away. So that could be a thing. And that would actually make it pretty interesting in the gameplay mechanics. Have the power plant, if it's too far away, then it doesn't supply power, so this will not work. Or we have a little line renderer where every single place that we want power lines, we have to, you know, have it interconnect. It's possible. But thanks guys for watching. I hope this enlightened you guys to do some stuff and everything else. But I'm going to let you guys go, and hopefully I get another video about this out in a couple days. I know I haven't touched the tower defense stuff in a while, and I'm sorry. But in all retrospects, my first-person shooter stuff gets a lot more views than the tower defense stuff. So, you know, like, hit subscribe, and comment below, you know, if this is more of you guys' stuff that you want to listen to and watch, because that lets me know. But peace out, everybody, and take care.